to GSP Podcast. We are here to reimagine the playing field in women's sports with female game changers. My name is Ruza, FA of Serbia grassroots manager, sports industry specialist, and former football referee. Let's empower the girls with this episode, and big round of applause for my next guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to GSP Podcast, where we speak with phenomenal women about amazing women and future of girls in sports. Today, I have a pure pleasure to speak with my dear friend and colleague, Marta Tutic, who happens to be a sports psychologist. So today we have a different perspective on changing the world of women's game. But before we start, I would like to give a floor to Marta to actually say more about herself, because I can tell that her being a sports psychologist is just one part of her amazing personality. Welcome to GSP.
Hi, and thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure to be here and to talk with you about this topic that I find really important. So, yes, I'm a sports psychologist and also I'm master gestalt psychotherapist. So I finished my bachelor studies in psychology, after that bachelor in gestalt psychotherapy. And then recently I finished my master's studies in Malta in gestalt psychotherapy. So that's my professional background. I used to be an athlete, not so professional and elite, but still I'm in sports for a long, long time.
Well, this sounds like, let's say, some TV show in the making, Marta in Malta. I love it. What hooked you to sports from the professional point of view? I do understand that when you start studying psychology, you can also go in other direction. There are so many areas of psychology where you can specialize yourself, but you kept connected to sports. Why? Where that connection started?
Well, it started when I was in sports. I was doing karate and volleyball at the same time when I was a teenager. And that was part of support system that I needed back then. I had the huge luck that one of my family members is a psychologist and psychotherapist, so I had the support in that way. And also my parents had some kind of a lead how to support me in a right way while I was competing. And later on, when I was on my second year of psychological studies, I decided that I want to specialize in sports psychology because I want to make a positive change in sport. Because sports psychology is not something that is talked a lot in our country and in Balkans. So I wanted something new, something fresh in sport. And I saw from some of my close friends that are professional athletes that aspect of support they have in their clubs abroad. So I thought that that's something that is missing in sport in our country.
And where are we now at the moment in this area? Because in like recent years, we could hear a lot of them speaking about the positive effects of working with psychologists, and we hear that even more and more. But I don't see that as a strategic part of sports yet. And I do feel that we miss that we need that. But from your perspective, where are we now from comparing to where we were when you started? And now, after so many years of successful career that you have?
Well, actually, we made some baby steps, if I could say like that, because still sports psychologists or mental coaches, as some people are calling us, are not part of the national teams or teams in general in our country. So when it comes to working with sports psychologists, that's mostly in the individual work. So me and my colleagues are working one-on-one with the athletes individually. And also there is some interest from some clubs to have some workshops with us from time to time, but still it's not on that level that it should be. And I believe that one workshop in a season cannot change anything. It can just make the athletes curious about the topic, and maybe to make them interested in working with some of my colleagues or me. But still, it's not enough to see a sports psychologist once in a year and to expect that you will have results. So I believe that we have a huge field for development, but we need more opportunities to help athletes and clubs and national teams to improve in that mental way.
And when we speak about the girls from your personal perspective and point of view as a female, when is the perfect moment that a girl who started playing sports and started competition, even if it's still not elite level, or if she didn't choose a career, sports as her career, when is the perfect moment to include work with the psychotherapists for the, let's say, maybe even understanding what are her goals, like is the sport the area she wants to stay in, or I don't know, but when is the best moment to introduce for a girl to introduce a psychologist in a career path?
Well, as early as possible. I believe that teenage years, for example, would be the perfect timing, because they're like going through a huge developmental phase, as it is like in adolescence, and also they're choosing if they want to stay in sport and to you know uh, to continue being in sport and taking that path, because when they're choosing the high school, they can choose some sports school that can support them in their future career, and not maybe to choose the science or whatever they're maybe interested in. And also having in mind that girls nowadays, especially when we have social media included in our lives a lot, they're dealing with a lot of things, and they need support on different levels. And I believe that as early as possible, they can have the contact with sports psychologists. They can understand themselves and then decide whether they want to be athletes or they want to do anything else in their life. But first of all, to understand themselves and the changes that they're going through.
But also, when we speak about girls in that phase that is still under development, that starts from puberty and then moving on, and from the sports perspective, it also happens that a lot of them are not ending up in the elite box because, I don't know, injuries may happen along the way. Does the work with the psychotherapist in that period actually also prepare them for the potential failures of their choices? I mean, we just spoke that maybe you are choosing school according to your career. So what if you don't succeed in sports, and then you maybe sacrifice the school you wanted, and then it sounds like a double failure, let's say like that, even though it's not in the end. So when do and how do you start working with them, preparing them that that can also be an outcome in the end?
Yeah, the thing with kids, with girls in adolescence, and like being in school context and also in sport context, is that they're having like a dual career. So they're supposed to be in school and on the field. So that's the thing, how to support them in the right way for both their paths. And also, it's think about the self-confidence, because in the adolescence it's something that is like hot topic, and they need help how to enlarge their support system and inner support, and that's the base for the future life. So they need to understand themselves, to support themselves, and to be prepared for what is coming. So if it happens that they do not succeed in sport, that they have plan B, or as I want to say, that they have plan A, because they're still in school and they can choose later on the university they want and the career they want.
But when they progress from there, and let's say we had a successful adolescence period in high school and so on, we moved to university, and then we are in the part where we maybe even sacrifice our academical career because of sports, or maybe we fall in love at that time, or maybe at some point of the career there are kids in the way. So there are so many, for a female, there are so many additional roles that are coming along the way. I mean, as we are growing. So when do you start introducing those kind of potential roles in their life? Before they happen, or along the way as you follow the career and see what is also happening in the private life? And I would also like to understand if somebody has a sports psychologist, at what distinct you're actually also a psychotherapist of a private life, or are you even mix the private life with the athletic life? Like, this was something really interesting to me, because somebody who is actively doing psychotherapy, which I consider the best thing I did for myself in my life, and I'm super disciplined about that, in terms of, even though I feel good, I'm not stopping it, because I feel the mental training is literally what the physical training is. I mean, at what point you as a sports psychologist also, do you become the psychotherapist too, or you just keep yourself in the sports corner?
Well, I see in the practice with athletes that my role is switching. So I'm both ways present as a sports psychologist to support them in that athletic field, but also as a psychotherapist, because what is my experience at the beginning when athletes are deciding to work with me, they're strict and they just want to work on the sports topics, and later on we see that we need some information from their private life, and they also alone start with those topics. They just want to share something with me about, like, dating maybe, or anything that is happening in their private life or in the university. And that's something I believe, as I'm a gestalt psychotherapist. In Gestalt, we are checking all the fields that the person has, so professional, private, with friends, family, etc. So I believe that the crucial part of the mental training is also working on the topics from private life, and I see that as an advantage when it comes to me, because I can offer them both things. So not all the sports psychologists are therapists also.
Yes.
And then some of the athletes are having sports psychologists as one person and another person as a psychotherapist. So it can be difficult from times to times, because the topics are mixing. So they're not sure with whom they shared some of the things.
It's like you're
So
dating
it's easier to
two
have
people at the
always
same time. It's like literally you're dating two
yeah.
people at the same time, and you're not sure who knows what.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes even the athletes are sharing their experience from the past, when they actually worked with two professionals on different topics, and then now they have a feeling that they are not cheating on anyone, because they're talking just with me about everything.
Phenomenal. And speaking about girls and women, it's not because we have a project related to girls and women. It's because we don't have many opportunities to speak about female in this way, in detail. Especially with somebody who has your background, where I can even ask questions to maybe even understand better the athletes themselves. when we speak about this pathway, we came now to the period of our life where we have, let's say, some more serious decisions in terms of our careers, our private lives, maybe some happenings along the way. And then, we have, let's say, that we have a successful career for so many years and a lot of things happening. And then we end up being stuck in thoughts. What's next? What's after where is career after career? When is the moment when we start thinking about that? When is the moment where we start considering our career after career, successful as it is? Because I really saw that even with all the progress in terms of work with mental coaches, that even today we have so many lost lives after they finish their career. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they're going to do with their life. They lose their money. Because they were not prepared for the period that is coming, and so many other things. So when do you start working with athletes on career after career, but without them feeling like they're, coming to the end, or that they are like to not make their confidence about that lower and so on. So when is the perfect timing, and how do you introduce that part of their life?
I believe that like a middle of career is the perfect time to mention what is going to happen after they retire in professional sport. And I think that they have to be aware that at one point they will leave sport in one way. So they will stay in sports field and have the opportunity to continue working maybe with youth categories or what they want to do in sports, but they will not compete professionally. And the thing is that we need to be prepared what is coming next. So when we are making plans, and when we are doing the goals, for example, we have short-term and long-term goals. When they mention their long-term goals about the sports career, I like to introduce the career after, and to see what are their perspectives. So what is going to happen next, how they see themselves after the professional athlete's career. And that's the moment where sometimes we are stuck a little bit, because they never thought about that topic, and they were thinking that they will think about it when it comes to that. And I believe that it's late to
Yes.
think at that exact moment, because we need to be prepared as, for example, pregnancy. So you're having 9 months to prepare for the role of mother and having a child. In the same way, when we are ending the sports career or any other career, we need to be prepared for that. And that's the point also of the mental training. We are preparing for the things that might happen on the field, on the pitch. So we never know if something is going to happen, but we are still preparing, because when that comes to reality and it happens, we have some ideas what we can do at the specific moment. So it's not that we are seeing the situation for the first time and then we are lost, but we have some plan. Maybe it will not be the perfect plan and the perfect scenario. What is, I see that athletes are trying to make in their mind the perfect scenario of every match. That's not possible, because we have the opponents there, and they're also controlling the situation. So we cannot plan it in that way. But still, we can have something like a vision of our future. And then with that base, we can work later on, and it will be much easier, especially for the girls, for women, when it comes to having family and settling down in that family context. The preparation is the key.
Now we spoke a lot about this elite pathway, let's say like that. But what about this pathway where we actually have the side of amateur sport, or where we have a semi-elite level where at some point we had to stop God knows for what are the reasons. And then, but we still can keep them in sport, like, I don't know, coaches, journalists, psychologists, whatever, management stuff, anything that we can think of. I mean, they can still be connected to sports in terms of whatever degree they earn. They can put their work into the sports field and stay connected to what was their passion. So, what are the differences from your point of view when you're working with this pathway of elite player and this pathway of amateur and semi-elite player? Because I know that maybe somebody who's listening will gonna think, why do I need sports psychologists if I'm not gonna compete for the Olympics or even plan to earn some medals? But in the end, maybe I can be the best coach in the world, for example, and maybe that's why I need a sports psychologist. So what is the difference in your approach when we speak about this non-elite or semi-elite level?
Well, I believe that in non-elite or that amateur level, there is more awareness that they need a dual career and that they will be in that field because they know that they're not on the elite level and they need a backup plan. In that case, I see that many, especially girls, are attending colleges, universities, and they're willing to develop in some fields that are not connected to sport. For example, law or economics. That's something that I see often when it comes to my clients, that they want to have the knowledge from some other scientists and to understand how the real world outside the sport function. And that's the maybe the main difference. And then during the work with non-elite athletes or semi-elite athletes, I believe that we work more on the things outside of the sport. So to encourage them and to support them in what they're doing outside the sport, and to enlarge the support system, the inner support of all of the girls, that they can still succeed in sport even though they finish the psychology studies, economics, law, or whatever, and that they don't have to be part of the sport if they don't want it later. Because there is a thing, if you started with sport, why would you leave the sport and then continue with working in psychology, economics? And the thing is that they don't have to stay in sport if they don't want to. And I hear that they have that introject that they have to stay in sport.
Yes, I feel
So I'm trying
sometimes.
to.
I feel sometimes like it's like that. It's somebody, if you're in sports, you have to stay in sports. But in the end, as you said, you don't have to. You can choose another path, another career. It's fine to start over, to start from scratch, and then as well
Yeah.
succeed in that area. But no matter the pathway we choose, even if we speak about elite or non-elite, in the end, environment is really what is the most important. And how do you deal when that environment is really affecting negatively the athlete? I mean, we can have that coming from parents, coming from partner choices, coming from whatever. But I really believe that environment, sometimes, especially with girls, is the key. And how do you create the perfect environment for the development of an athlete when you have those kind of obstacles?
Well, first of all, I'm trying to be as supportive as possible, and to help them to see me in the right way. So I'm there to help them. I'm someone who is outside of their family, friends context, but still I'm part of the support system, and that's important that they understand that I'm there for them. And also we work on inner support, because we know many examples where athletes didn't have any kind of support from the environment and still succeeded and won Olympic medals and everything they could won. So I believe that if we have like the strong inner support and we believe in ourselves, that we can do whatever we want. So it's important to have the goals and to find at least one person who will be with us on that path. I believe that every girl can find a teammate or friends from school, from neighborhood that is similar to them. Maybe they're not in sports field, but maybe they're in arts and they're not supported. Maybe they're in physics or any other field and they're not feeling supported because it's not something that parents maybe see perspective in. And
And when we
that's
speak
what I hear.
and when we speak about this environment, as you now said, how do you manage to stay objective when, for a girl from environment, things like inequality or gender issue is kicking in? How do you keep your girl side, who is also affected by this problem? How do you keep her quiet so that you can still be this objective professional for your female client?
Yeah, it can be difficult sometimes because I see that some like inequality is present and that they're dealing with a lot going on in the background. But still, I'm trying to show them the positive examples in the world where girls and women succeeded in, for example, in a man world. That's what I can see as a professional when it comes, for example, to football and basketball, especially in our country. They're not the staff, they're not speaking with me on the same level as I can see that they're speaking with some male sports psychologist, because they come with that stereotype that I'm just a girl in football, that I don't know anything about the game.
Welcome
And
to my
maybe that's
world.
not the case.
Welcome to my
Yeah,
world. Of course, we don't know a thing because we're girls.
yeah. But you're showing that it's not like that, and they're not right.
Whenever I want to present you to somebody, I always mention your work with the Partizan Basketball Club, men's Partizan Basketball Club, because I just wanna try to create, especially with men, to try to create that image that yes, this girl knows how to work with men, so don't worry. This is not her first rodeo. This is many of of her rodeos, so don't worry. But this is something that sometimes frustrates because we always need to highlight. Yes, we do understand football, and then continue working on it. I mean, I can speak with you on this professional point of view of Marta for many, many hours, but I cannot finish this episode without trying to also speak with personal side of Marta. So try to now turn off the psychologist in you and answer to me on two important questions. What frustrates you the most in women's sport these days? And if you have a magic wand, what would you change for girls in sports?
Mhm. What frustrates me is that we are dividing women sports and men's sports. So when it comes to football, when we see in the media on the TV, it's a football match between these two clubs, and somehow we know that it's about the boys. And when it comes to girls, in those sports, it's like women basketball, women football match. And that's something that really frustrates me because I want to see and to hear that both of them are playing the same sport, and that we talk about it as it is the same sport with the same rules. and like the same aspects of the sport. Nothing is easier for girls in basketball or football or any other sport when it comes to that, like why dividing it. And then I see that girls are feeling that they are not worthy enough because they're in football, because it's a male world. It is not. And that's the thing that we were talking in the past, that football is for girls, and basketball is for girls, and tennis is for girls. And also the thing with announcing the matches on TV, we can always hear about the men playing in different halls, stadiums, in our country and wherever in the world. But when I want to find out when girls are playing, I have to put a lot of effort and
Exactly.
to Google and to ask my clients when and where are they playing, so that I can catch up with them. And most of the times there is no broadcast on TV. So I'm watching the matches of girls in table tennis, in basketball, in football on YouTube, on any other platforms, and not on TV. That's not fair. And I want to understand why it is like that, because I can say, and probably people can judge my opinion, that girls are putting sometimes more effort in that sport than boys, and they have to work a lot to be there and to be in the national team, to have people to hear about them. And when it comes to boys, we know who is in the national team in all the categories. And for the girls, we really need to do the research to see who are the girls who are playing, and then to do the research after to see in which clubs are they playing when they're not in the national team. So that's something that frustrates me really, really a lot.
And I believe that if you have a magic wand, you would change those things that are frustrating you in this
Yeah,
area.
definitely. And I will make like the psychological team in every team. So I believe that one sports psychology is not enough in a team to work with 10, 15, 20, 25 players. So we need a few sports psychologists in every team, in every sport, and especially in the national teams, because I believe that we cannot go to the Olympics with just one sports psychologist. It's a lot of work. And I believe that we can support those girls and boys in the other competitions, not just the Olympics, in a right way, and that they would feel supported when they know that they have like five psychologists in the team, and that they can just ask to discuss on something, or to ask for the advice, or to have someone to calm them down before the competition. And they don't have that opportunity in the national teams, in their clubs, and that's why they are trying to find ways how to help themselves, working individually with us, or reading some self-help books and stuff. That's a good start. That's first step in mental training. That's fine, but it's important for all the athletes, especially girls, to know that they don't have to do everything alone, even though they can, but they don't have to, because there are professionals who are there to support them and to help them and make their path a bit easier, just a bit.
You know, this fact that we don't have to do things alone is something I'm also learning. Because, you know, in order to be a woman in sports, as you are aware, we need to become so tough, you know, that we can do everything alone. We don't need any help. But then in the end, who has your back? We need also some help. And now I'm learning to accept and to create my life a bit easier. Thank you.
I'm learning that also every day.
Okay, now it's now it's easier for me if you're learning that too. Well, thank you a lot for being part of GSP podcast and for sharing really, really valuable information from your point of view that is necessary in everyday sports on every level. I mean, in everyday life, not only sports, but let's keep it to sports and especially with girls who are really having some challenges that many boys and men cannot even understand. I mean, starting from physical stuff to mental stuff and hormones and everything else that we didn't even speak of, and we all know that can affect a girl a lot. So thank you very much, and I believe that we will continue an interesting talks on this area and change the world of sports for our girls.
Thank you for an inspiring discussion, and I really enjoyed it.
Big shout out to European Union for co-financing this project as a part of the cooperation partnership in field of sports.